I think it was Boeing, actually.
Yeah, you're right, but it's up in Seattle.
Yeah.
You see, that's what Seattle was, a hidden ground.
Yo-yo dime.
Yes, Seattle was.
Yosarian is yo-yo.
Ooh.
So they're all tied in.
Yeah, and Seattle is the hidden ground from, say, 60 to 77. That's why Tom Robbins could ride on his amoeba. But the Seattle, when that is an after image from 77 to 90, nobody knows this. But Lockdown Bob Rule, and Bob was. I was involved in Seattle very much in the early years.
Did you teach Hendrix guitar while you were there?
So my
Did you have him listen to Eddie Cochran?
No, my biography manifests more literally in the media, and this is in particular Twin Peaks. But this, and note that's in the Seattle area.
Pacific Northwest.
Yeah.
And she was from Vancouver.
Ooh.
So you have the whole Northwest Karina Conjuree effect.
Now let me finish the sentence on the point that Seattle shows up as a figure in pop culture in 1990 when Bob was the only one here, he and Connie, so therefore his biography can be the only content in the mirror, which is what this is about, is the mirror,
right.
And that mirror goes to Seattle.
I am the mirror that catches demons.
Sleepless in Seattle. See, all these symptoms come up now because the rearview mirror and obsolete, the rearview mirror. And
that's the best thing anybody ever said on this show.
On
best
what show?
Good.
Oh, what I just said?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Whose show is this?
This is the Global Show.
Right. Yeah. Are you the agent?
No, you're handling the money for this one.
Okay.
We mentioned Wallets earlier.
I'm the client. You're the client. I'm the agent.
No, that's well. Godard said it's all prostitution.
Well, this is what's interesting. If anybody wonders why
Godard also ended cinema just to try to do in movies what Joyce was doing.
That's right. He said, if they can't make crummy hamburgers, why should I make good movies?
Exactly.
No, if they can't make good hamburgers, why should I make good movies? That's what he said. So he knew culture was our business.
This show should have a beginning, a middle, and an end, but maybe on the next show.
It will. Yeah. So the point is that Bob is a woman. I'm particularly...
Bob is a woman.
Now, I'm a black woman, okay? And I've always maintained that on the radio in Toronto. And you were getting the...
You're the Earth Mother as well, isn't it?
Ooh, yes. The point is that the dialectic between McLuhan and Mailer, the Canadian and the American, is very important. That's why Canadian literature is very prominent in the rest of the world, because they see America in the mirror of Canada. Now, Canada is the woman in relation to the patriarchy of male America. So therefore, you got the Canadian vibe through this woman. And Canada is built on a virtual reality. If you read Arthur Croker's book, Technology in the Canadian Mind.
Has always been built on?
Oh, yes. We are the communications. Not we. I mean, I just infiltrated Canada. But the Canadians are the software communists. Americans are the kinetic hardware communists. Mm-hmm. So you had the TV, you had the electric bride via the Canadian subconscious archetype interacting with you, the American, who is trying to retrieve a combination of visual and kinetic space via poetry.
Right.
And it leads to insomnia.
And I knew she would scorch my ego and it would lead to fiery visions.
That's right. It would lead to the point where you'd meet me.
I was willing to drink of that cup.
Yeah, it would lead to me to where I would explain to you how you got to this situation, which I will only explain to people who give me something that I'm not aware of, and then when I look at it, I see a lot of my own reality in there. Mm-hmm. A lot of particulars that happen within 14 days.
Please, go on.
I don't know if I could find them on scanning.
She might be watching, incidentally, so it would be interesting as you as a Canadian speaking to her in a Canadian vernacular dialectic.
The particular... The Parliament of Birds, okay? Now, I've had to deal with a guy named Jerry Fialka for the last few days who's...
Never heard of him.
No. The Parliament of Birds... Oh, you never heard of Jerry Fialka? Okay. Anyways, I had to deal with him for a while, and he's preparing to interview Mr. Parliament Funkadelic, George Clinton.
Right.
All right?
Actually, I have heard of Jerry Fialka.
Good. And the point is, there's the Parliament of Birds.
I know him better than I know myself. That's why I had to forget him momentarily.
And one of the main conversations with Fialka and me over this period...
He's a Catholic saint.
Yes, yes.
He retrieved Catholicism.
I'm trying to bring back... He retrieved Catholicism. That's right.
The generosity of heart and the spirit, being the purple one, the vestments of the church, holding the chalice.
He retrieved Catholicism because I made him understand why I was a Catholic. And then he wasn't guilty about rejecting Catholicism via Frank.
He's equally at home in the catacombs or a cathedral.
Yes. Now, the Parliament of Birds. Birds was a theme. While talking, I explained the symbol of bird channeled through Dave Worster, all this past week, all around the topic of how to talk to George Clinton. So what you get here, the phrase, the Parliament of Birds. And so that's enough on that point. And that's an example. There's many of them in there. But
very good exegesis.
Yes. And where would you direct your thoughts now?
Well, you know, I never quote him on the show. I thought it'd be fun to say Deepak Chopra on the air.
An anti-Connie. An anti-Connie.
I was watching just a moment. It was a Bob accident because you caused the Dodgers to forfeit this week, and it's been a very heavy week. We'll talk about Garcia
for the
2 weeks from now.
For the 23 faction.
Yeah, and the full moon as well.
Yes.
Deepak said we are now in, quote, Bob Horns. We're now in pipes. Twin pipe.
Twin Peaks.
Magic mufflers. Captain Glassback.
The Great Northern.
He said, and I quote, we are now in the climactic overthrow of the superstition of materialism. Would you comment on that?
Well, Prince Charles has a lot of success because Americans don't understand that it's not the Japanese who own most of North America, it's the British. And Prince Charles is, through the Global Business Network and Wired magazine, and through the Acquiring Conspiracy and the New Age movement, he is projecting the anti-LaRouchian propaganda that leads to cultural references like the Age of Merlin or something. Isn't that the name of his book, Merlin? Always going back to the Gnostic Glastonbury roots of the Freemasonic cult of Isis that Prince Charles and them have, for generations, been propagating. That's the 18, the in bed in 22. 22 retrieves 18. And,
with a tetrad left over.
Yes.
For good measure.
Yeah. And so, cheap.
And the 4 bars making up Black Flag. And there again, you created the punk movement. But anyway.
The anarchist, the Black Flag. Peter Lamborn Wilson. Check him out. Check him out. Anyways, so you have Deepak Chopra representing the Maharishi, the Beatles, 1967, when Rai returned to essence.
I'm going to have to ask you to summarize them.
Yeah, the point is that Britain, for Americans, Britain is a palliative. It's a homeopathic palliative, but it does not deal with infectious diseases. And the electric environment of infectious diseases is the infectious disease I deal with, and Connie deals with the personal, old nature, biological infectious diseases.
It is called the British invasion, after all. So it's a body parasite.
Yeah. And LaRouche is the best exegetist, the ex-Jesusist of and he's a Vatican agent on a certain level, though he himself is not a Vatican agent. But in the mixed corporate media, since there's only archetypes available, whatever you produce will be filtered through the leftovers of the media archetypes. So you have the Queen and the Protestant religion versus the Vatican. So he is an ex-Jesus ethicist, and he will explain to you, representing the Vatican in its effect, how Venice and the Aquarian conspiracy came out of Henry VIII's divorce. It's a fantastic scenario and very accurate, confirmed by the Exes, who are a form of Akashic records.
Well, we got to go now.
It's over?
Bob, it's been a pleasure having you on again.
You're learning how to be...
We'll see you next week.
You're learning how to be a tetrad manager.
Next week?
You're a tetrad manager.
Well, thank you very much. Good night, Tom Brennan, in Studio 13, with Bob Dobbs. Cleared. Getting better and better.
Oh, that always gets better.